everyone, this is Jamerica with Jamerica Life. I hope all is going well with you. Today we're going to plant some seeds, and I am picking out the seeds as we speak. So there is a particular crop that has been evading me for a while, and I am sick of waiting, and that is tree collards and collards in general. So they grew for me. Don't get me wrong, they grew. But guess who got them? The snails, the slugs, the bugs. By the time I got rid of them, these poor things were gone. And I've been watching someone on YouTube for a while who has beautiful tree collards, and I want at least 3. So we're gonna go ahead and try to get them planted. Well, we're gonna plant them, and I know they germinate. But the bugs got them. So we're going to do it again. So I have 3 packs of seeds here. And we're going to plant 1 pot each. One of them got to be tree collards. I forget which one it is. I think it says collard seeds on this. They're both the same. These are probably tree collards. This is just a regular collard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the regular collards in a different pot. That's how I'm going to discriminate. So let's get to it. Let's go ahead and plant our collards. Okay, so we have our 3 pots here. Right there. And we're going to get our collards out. These are small seeds. Shoot. You're small. I'm alarmed. A little alarmed. So the first thing, take this one out. I need some space. And they're going to be hard to see because they're let me show you. They're small. And they're dark. Just like the soil. It's going to be hard for me to see them. See that? All right, Jamerica. You can do it. You did it before. Have faith, girl. Wish my hands were drier. I looked over and I saw a bell pepper, and then I smiled to myself. I'm like, oh, bell pepper. You know, like a dog saying squirrel. You know, can't keep my train of thought. Okay, they're coming out. I can see them. Okay, that's one. Try not to get it wet inside. Tree collards. I had to order these. I had to special order these because they don't have them here locally here in this part of Texas, as far as I know. And the seedlings, I don't buy seedlings. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Even if they did have tree collards in the store, I wouldn't buy them as seedlings. I'm a cheapskate. Y'all heard me? Okay, I put about 2 for. Let me sprinkle a little bit more. Shoot. There we go. They don't want to come out. Okay. I have about 8 seeds in there and 8 seeds in here. I'll take my tree collards and I'm going to put them right over here because the wind is blowing. Okay, on to, I think I'm going to cover them up because the wind is blowing and they're small seeds. So we're going to take some wet soil. I'm going to cover these bad boys up and pat it down. You know, sometimes this is how people determine worth. If they get it for free, if we as people, I think it's psychological. If we get it for free, sometimes we don't appreciate it as much or cherish it as much. So, and that goes for not only plants and things, but people. Sometimes we take people for granted when they're always there for us, and you shouldn't do that. Some people are helping you out of the goodness of their heart. Trust me. And sometimes when good people or good things get treated badly, they don't progress as well. So think about that when you're dealing with something that you like, a plant or some seeds that you got for free, or a person that is giving to you, because it doesn't have to be as good as it is right now. It does not. I watched a YouTuber, and I've done this. I only normally I only take stuff out of the ground um, that that is not doing well. I try not to plant invasive stuff or kill invasive stuff that I have planted, unless it's the weeds. Of course, I pull those up, but I try not to pull up anything like loofah or anything. I try to plant it. Like last year, my loofah was growing all over my crepe myrtles, and I could have dragged it down and eradicated it, but I planted it there, and it wasn't free, because if it was free, I still wouldn't have dragged it down because I wanted loofah. Um, but I appreciated it because it was hard for me to get. So things that are harder for us to attain or get, we appreciate more because we know what it took to get it. And I have seen, there's a lot of millionaires out here in Texas, and you would never know. These people look like they ain't got a pot to, what in, and they walk around and they look just meek, right? Rich, filthy rich. You would never know. And that's the older generation. Then you look at some of their kids, or not their kids. Their kids are usually, sometimes they're the same way as their parents, because their parents raised them to be humble. A lot of them. There are some that aren't, and the ones that aren't in my age group, well, they didn't do very well in life. So the grandkids, sometimes they want the best of everything, and some of them don't want to work with it for it. They think that it should be handed to them on a silver platter, because they don't appreciate what it takes to make $1. So things that are hard to attain, things that are hard to get, we appreciate as humans. Most of the time we appreciate them more. So think about that when you're planting stuff, or when the next time the ground cherry comes up, or shoot, loofah. Loofah is my problem. Loofah and cucumbers. Next time a cucumber drags down your okra, don't. And I had one a couple of weeks, maybe a week ago. I had a cucumber plant that was dragging down my okra plant. But I didn't kill did not kill either one. What I did was I tried to get the cucumber as far down off of the okra as possible so that they could both survive. Because although the cucumber plants are like $4 for $1, that's how much they cost at the Dollar Tree, I appreciate it because I worked for it. So y'all think about that. Think about that, because I've seen some people do some things to plants, animals, things that they got too easy, and they just didn't appreciate it, and they ruined a good thing sometimes. And sometimes, sometimes you do that. I put too many seeds in there. Sometimes you do that, and then the next year these seeds won't grow. It's like God is watching you. It's like, I gave you a lot because your family needed it and you didn't appreciate it. So next year, I'm gonna let the devil work with you. I'm not gonna watch out for you. So always try to appreciate your stuff. That's the moral of the story. Always try to appreciate people and what you have. Don't look at what the next man has. That is, you don't know what's going on in that household anyway. Don't look at what they have. What you seeing, keeping up with the Joneses. Because the Joneses might be in there wanting to wring each other's necks. You don't know. People could have put on good fronts in front of everybody. Good ones. So I'm covering this one up. I'm taking any of these big logs and I'm putting it in my lemongrass. All right. Now that I've talked about appreciating what you have, not what other people have, or appreciating what God has given you, because it could always get worse. I remember I was driving and I had a Mazda 626 that was old. It was my first car. It was old and the paint was chipping off, coming off. The paint was just looked a mess, but it worked. It started. It always started, right? And I was like, man, this car is horrible. And the thing is, it was a horrible looking car, but it was a good car. And when I bought it, the dealership told me, this car is going to run. This car will not stop running unless you run it into a pole or something, right? That's when it'll stop running, if you wreck it. They were right. I looked bad. I looked horrible driving that car. I was so embarrassed. I remember being embarrassed. And these mosquitoes are all around me. Let me sit down and talk about it. I remember being embarrassed about that car. I remember driving it and like putting my head down when I got out, because people were like, whose car is that? Because it was all chipped up. But I didn't have a lot of money, or we didn't have a lot of money. And that's what we could afford. And it always started. So I think we were at Fort Knox. I'm always talking about Fort Knox. And I know we're at Fort Knox because I remember buying that car in Radcliffe. That's where I got it from. A Mazda dealership in Radcliffe. I forget the name of the street, but it was a main street off of when you get off Fort Knox. And I just remember being embarrassed, but we couldn't afford anything. And then we had a storm, right? And I remember one of my neighbors had a Mustang. I think it was a Mustang. Yeah, it was a Mustang. And we were driving by with our beat up Mazda 626. I remember it was burgundy. And oh God, I got to explain this to you because you don't know how bad this thing looks. You know, you have that clear coating on it. That started to bubble up and the clear coating started to come off. So it was clear coating that was bubbling up and coming off. It looked horrible. It was horrible. And we couldn't afford to get it repainted. We couldn't afford it. So we were driving out of Gaffey Heights. That's on Fort Knox. That's the housing area at Fort Knox. And we saw one of our neighbors trying to walk because we had formation early in the morning. And he was walking along the dark road because his car broke down. And my ex-husband had to go and give him a lift in our beat up car. And he had a new Mustang. Well, it looked new. It was all shiny and pretty. He used to wash it all the time. And I mean, I didn't even want to park next to that car because it made my car look even worse. But his car broke down and my ex-husband said, found on the side of the road dead. It's like, dude, you need to go and get another type car because that car is just pretty. It's pretty, they say a pretty girl has no substance sometimes. Or some people, they say, I don't believe that everybody has value, but they say, there's nothing, it's like somebody who thinks they're too good to do anything. They just think that they're blessing you with their presence. There are people out there like that who think that, I'm just blessing you with my presence. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to help. I don't need to contribute. You're just lucky I'm here. I'm not like that. I hope I was never like that. But, I didn't appreciate that car because of the way it looked. But however, I appreciated it because it always ran. But I was ashamed. Never be ashamed of the things that God gives you. Never. That's if you don't appreciate the things that you have, how are you going to get more? You have to take care, just like this yard. If I didn't take care of my yard, it wouldn't look like this. If I didn't plant it, you reap what you sow. If I didn't plant this stuff, because there was nothing back here, it was a blank slate. If I didn't plant anything back here and pray, I had to pray because a lot of stuff died. And I had to keep on trying and say, come on, God, something's got to give. Because I know it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me who got everything to grow. I can't take all the credit. Something pushed me, something helped me, and it was him. But if you don't plant, you don't reap. If you don't sow, you don't reap. And I'm not looking in my neighbor's yard to see what they're planting. I'm not looking in this yard or that yard. I'm not looking around. I'm tending to my own situation. I'm sweeping around my own porch. Because when you start snooping in other people's porches, well, then you get jealous or you compare, and you don't know what they doing. Just like people look back here and they're like, oh, it's so nice back there, and I'm out there early in the morning toiling, trying to keep it alive in this Texas sun. It's not easy, but I enjoy it. So my point is, I come from a humble family, very humble. And I was taught to work for what you want. And if something doesn't work, do it again. And keep on trying until something's got to give. That's what we used to say. Something got to give. And sometimes you got to look up and say, hey, God, you're going to have to help me when you get discouraged. You can't look to people for it, because sometimes they'll make you quit. I remember when I had these snails out here and people were like, oh, you might as well just give up on your garden. And now look. What if I had given up? Do not give up. Just because I had a million snails back here. Oh, you go back a couple of months, it was bad. A legion of them. They were just coming in from everywhere. And man, you could see me out there picking up all these snails one by one by hand and put them in a bucket. I still have the bucket out there. Half of a 5-gallon bucket. And that was like the second or third time I had gotten the snails. But, give up? Never. Never. What did Martin Luther King say? If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But keep on moving. So, this is Jamerica with Jamerica Life. I thank you guys for being with me, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.